I just finished reading Never Flinch, which is Stephen King's newest novel and the latest edition in the Holly Gibney series. Holly Gibney was introduced in Mr. Mercedes, and she's in that trilogy, Finders Keepers, End of Watch, and then she's also in The Outsider, Let It Bleed, a short story in Let It Bleed, and then the novel that came out 2 years ago named Holly, and then this is the newest one, Never Flinch. First of all, even without context, I just want to throw this out there. I think Never Flinch, for the name of a novel, is pretty badass. This is a really good book. It's a really good Stephen King book. It's definitely not one of his best books that I've read by any means, but it's far from one of the worst. I actually read this one relatively fast. I did half of it in audio and half of it ebook, and I got through it really fast. It was a page turner. More of a mystery thriller, which King likes writing those, especially lately. You know, he's known as the man of horror, but with Holly and some of his later books, mystery thrillers has kind of been his thing, and this one was a lot of fun. I think you technically could read this book without reading any of the other Holly books and understand it and still have fun with it, but... And I say that just because King does a pretty good job at recapping big moments. Like, he'll go over what happened with Chet Ondowski from If It Bleeds. He'll go over what happened in The Outsider. And he'll mention the Harrisons from Holly. But towards the end of the book, when things start to ramp up a little bit, and you start getting a lot of Bill Hodges references. And around that time, that's when I thought to myself, I was like, all right, well, if you didn't read the Bill Hodges trilogy, those lines are not going to hit as much. So I would say read all the other books that Holly's in first. In this book, Holly takes a job as a bodyguard, which sounds silly because if you know anything about Holly, you know how small she is. But she definitely has the skills to get it done. She's smart enough. She's an amazing detective, so she takes this job. I'm not going to recap the entire thing, but... basically, she's protecting someone named Kate. She's kind of a feminist activist, and she's on tour. And, yeah, there's some political stuff in here, but it's not as heavy-handed as some of King's more recent books. I actually kind of liked the direction he went as far as kind of the political references, because he shows, like, the bad of both sides and the good of both sides. At least I feel that's kind of what he was going for. And I like that. All that aside, though, you know, since it's Stephen King, we're going to get into the mind of the villain. And the villain in this one, Trig, he's pretty ruthless. A lot of the kills are, I mean, it sounds funny saying it like this, but a lot of the kills are kind of fun. It's a fast-paced book, though, and there's a lot of stuff going on, but it never really gets too confusing because there are a lot of characters. Izzy, Barbara, Jerome. Barbara and Jerome... You know, if you've been on the ride with Holly this whole time, it is kind of neat to see their characters grow. Jerome and Barbara have both become two of my favorite King characters. I might even like them better than Holly. I like Holly, don't get me wrong, but she gets a little annoying sometimes. But at this point, she's very endearing to me, and I enjoy the adventures that King writes about her. But even since King... you know, back in the 90s, 80s with Tommyknockers, Needful Things, many other books, but those are just a couple that come to mind. He has this thing that he does where once he gets to the climax of the story, the way he does it is just so cinematic. It's just the neighborhood is basically all involved, more or less. And then once he gets to the pinnacle of the climax, he does this thing where he inserts humor at the most, like, opportune times, and he does it again here, and it just works good, because you have this nervous feeling, like you're not sure what's going to happen, but then he cracks a joke, and you start laughing, and it's like a nervous laugh, and I found myself doing that here, and he just does that so well. King is a master with that, and at this point, I've read enough of his books to where I can kind of see the formula that he does happen with that, but it doesn't make it any less fun to go on the adventure. Plot-wise, this book reminded me a lot of, like, directly to Mr. Mercedes. I got a lot of Brady Hartsfield vibes with the vibes of this villain Trig. And I feel like in King's newer books, he definitely uses less flowery language than he did in the past, and I think it's on purpose. But that doesn't take away from his storytelling. He's a little bit more direct now, I think. But he still has a way of making you feel like you're just talking to an old friend, telling a story. At this point, I've read so much King to where, I don't know, it's like every time I jump into one of his books, his voice kind of like soothes me, I guess. But honestly, I give this book like a 9 out of 10. I mean, it's not going to crack my top 10. Might not even, well, I don't think it's cracked my top 20 Stephen King books, but it has been one of my favorite reads this year, for sure, and I had fun with it. I had a good time, so I definitely recommend Never Flinch. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10.